Good afternoon. It is Sunday at 8 o'clock. You know what that means. It's time for another episode of the DSP. As always, I'm your host, Josh. So, one quick announcement that I gotta make. Yesterday, I competed in the short run shootout. That was an awesome tournament. Everything was flagged, marked. Everything was really well set up, really well ran. Shout out to the TDs and everyone that made it possible. That was awesome. Great job, guys. I enjoyed it, and I'll definitely be going back there next year for that tournament. It was a blast. So yeah, that's the only announcement I kind of have for this week. So tonight's guest is someone who's become one of my good buddies. Competes in the age-protected division. He is, not only can he throw left-handed, but surprisingly, surprised me during a round, he can also throw righty. Without further ado, let's bring him in. Click the right button. Let's see, he should be joining. Here we are. How's it going, Dan?
Doing good, Josh. How about yourself?
Doing good. So, introduce yourself and let us know how long you've been playing for and what got you to even start playing disc golf.
So, I got into disc golf quite a while ago. Back in 2003, that was the first time I picked up a disc. My uncle had passed that year, and back in the late 90s, he was an avid disc golfer. I guess there used to be a doubles league or whatever at JD, so I constantly hear on Sundays, he had to eat and run because he wanted to catch the doubles and get in. So that was kind of my way of remembering him. That's originally how I started. I was a three-sport athlete when I was in high school: baseball, football, wrestling, captained all three teams. Played some baseball while I was in college, and even a little after when I was in North Carolina as a teacher. So it was kind of a natural transition from softball actually to playing disc golf.
Nice. So, going on about your past sports, what sports do you think athletes could be coming from into disc golf that will translate really simply and actually benefit like their backhand form or other parts of their disc golf game?
I would think that anybody who's been a baseball player is going to benefit from it. Probably anybody who's been involved in any kind of racket sports, tennis, racquetball, even pickleball. I think there's a lot of similar motions, especially when you look at form breakdowns and things like that. I've compared Paul Macbeth's form to Ken Griffey Jr., watching their ability to brace and stay back with their weight and everything, and how they transfer. So I think there's a lot of sports that there could certainly be some carryover.
Yeah, definitely. And your backhand form, you changed that over the winter, and you and I'd say Forrest are the two guys that I know that are the most explosive I've ever seen with hips leading through the throw. I'm pretty impressed with how you guys are able to do that.
Well, as an old guy, I got a brother who was a Division I rugby player who's now a personal trainer, and I definitely reference him quite often for different exercises and different things that I can do to improve in the off season. And one of the big things that he recommended for me was TRX training and using the medicine ball. And I've noticed huge benefits just being able to throw the disc 15, 20 feet further, and it's been pretty effortless actually.
Yeah, you make that backhand look effortless, even when you go right-handed. That blew my mind the one day when we were out playing. I had no idea you could throw righty too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So a couple years ago, I ended up having elbow surgery on my left arm, and I think it's been about 5 years. I got a group of buddies that I grew up with that we play every Sunday morning, regardless, all year round. And just to be able to get out and still connect with them, I had to figure out a way, and that way was right-handed. So once I was cleared to start to throw left-handed, then I mess with it a little bit, but I probably played for the good part of 6 months or more right-handed when I think it was in 2023 season.
Wow, that's crazy. So you said that you guys play all year round. How does the winter affect you guys? Or you guys still just go out in the snow and play?
I mean, Sunday mornings are to go out and catch up and share the memories of back when we were kids, and things like, hey, do you remember when we went to Woodstock '99? I mean, I know I'm dating myself there, but like those things that we grew up doing, like we share those memories all the time, and it's more about being out and connecting and catching up than it is the actual scores.
Yeah, like that's the whole like disc golf vibe that I enjoy, is just building a memory and having like that kind of like family like vibe,
For
especially
sure.
catching up with people you grew up with and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I started playing them back in 2003, and my first tournament I think was 2010, and it was really it was welcoming. There was a few open guys that, as I'm walking through the parking lot in between rounds, stop me and, hey, introduce yourself. So we have a 20-minute conversation just on how I got into the sport, what they do, and it was really nice to be connected with a group of people that just accept you because you do the same thing they do.
Yeah, I remember my first tournament. I got put on a card with Mike Kelsey, who recently passed away. But he took me under his wing basically for my whole first like tournament. It was like I was 2 weeks into playing disc golf, and I did my first tournament at Bond blind. So Mike Kelsey told me where each hole was, told me how to throw things and what all the rules were. It was pretty cool. And like that's kind of the cool thing about disc golf is, like you're saying, it's just like everyone's there to help each other out. It's so
Yeah.
cool.
The community is great. When I first started playing tournaments, it seemed like there was, if a tournament was on, let's say at Wilson on Saturday, there was a Friday doubles tournament the day before. It was more about the community and joining and being together than it was anything else. At least at that point, it was like the 2-day tournaments, like the luau and stuff like that. It was almost like festival-ish.
Yeah. So what actually drew you to doing tournaments, from going from a casual player to, hey, I want to give this tournament thing a try, see what it's about?
So being an athlete all my life, it was always it kind of ran in my blood. I mean, being a three-sport athlete, like I said, in high school, playing a little baseball in college, and then when I shifted gears to playing disc golf, it was a totally different mindset. So the challenge was real. It still is. There's still struggles out there,
Mm-hmm.
but every time I feel like there's a learning experience. You hit that block in the road, and you learn from it. And okay, I got to remember not to make that mistake again. So it became more of a mental game than it was, playing baseball and wrestling. I could go out there and play on pure emotion, and just being able to touch somebody. I was able to get all those feelings out, or
Mm-hmm.
those stresses that I had for the day, where I can't take that same philosophy and mental image and bring it out to the disc golf course, because you got to play relaxed. And I've noticed that old saying that they used to have in the Right Life magazine, the most fun wins. I think it's pretty true.
Very true. So how do you keep into like your mental uh kind of your mental idea of like how you want to play, even though, let's say, like you're on a card and everyone's out throwing you by like 100 feet, and you feel like, oh, I gotta like compete with this, but at the same time, how do you stay in your own mental, you know what I'm trying to say, like
I
your
know
mental
exactly what you're
plan?
trying to say. It's so having a game plan, I feel is super important when it comes to tournaments. And even if you feel like everything goes wrong, you got to stick to it. because it's the only way that you're going to find out if it was the right game plan. Every hole is different. When you change your game plan from one hole to the next, you've thrown that off. And I really believe that the preparation and confidence is huge. If you can't step up to the tee box and feel confident with what you're doing, and if you're going to have self-doubt, pack it in. So just believing in yourself, throwing a disc that you feel that you're going to be successful with every time. That's something that I've been working on recently, is eliminating the dead weight, if you want to call it that, in my bag. If it's a disc that, well, I might throw it, I've taken it out. I want every disc in my hand that I'm going to be confident with and feel successful.
Yeah. So speaking of discs, I know that you throw a lot, like you throw all prodigy. What made you decide I want to like start throwing prodigy? What drew you to that company?
So I joined Prodigy. It was, I want to say, October, November of the 2023 season. I actually applied for Lone Star Discs and got accepted to their Ranger team. And just happened to reach out to somebody that I knew that played for Prodigy, and asked and said, hey, this is what I got offered. Not that I want to know your personal, what's happening with your contract, but is this something that's comparable? And they suggested to apply for the team because the application was open. I had a conversation with a couple of guys, and within 2 weeks, I got an email back saying that I was accepted. So Sam Castiglione, who's been on the team for, I think, like 10 plus years, I picked up a Prodigy disc just to kind of support him and being on the team. And I got to be honest, anybody who sees the orange PA3 that's in my bag, I think I've had it in there for 10 plus years. It's just been a good fit, and trying their other discs, I've found success with.
Yeah. Comment in the chat is the PA3 is the best putter.
Well,
I imagine.
I mean, that's what I putt with. I throw a lot of approach shots with it. I've thrown a lot of approach shots throughout the years with it. As I said, that one's been in my bag for 10 plus years. I putt with it. So, it's if somebody was going to suggest a putter, it's a PA3.
Nice. Is it shallow, beaded? What's it feel like?
It does have a little bit of a bead. It's slightly stable, so you can trust it if you're putting into the wind. Obviously, you still got to putt with the nose down and everything like that. You get the nose up, and it doesn't matter what you're putting with then. But I mean, I find it to be really, really reliable. It's got the right amount of glide. Prior to putting, or prior to being on the Prodigy team, I was putting with MVP Adams, and I noticed as soon as I made that switch, the PA3 had a lot more glide. So I was actually able to extend my range of putting at least 5 or so feet just based on making the switch to a different disc.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So what divisions have you played in your competitive? Like, have you always been on the age protected side, or did you start on MA3 and work your way up?
So that's funny that you say that, because when I started, MA3 was non-existent. You started out playing intermediate, and I always felt like there was kind of some unwritten rules where if you won a tournament or two, it was kind of like, okay, it's time for you to move up. If you were a 900 player and you weren't playing advanced, people were questioning how come you weren't moving up. But I've played intermediate, I've played a couple of advanced tournaments, and I started to play those couple of advanced tournaments because back when, a year or two before I turned 40, the Am Masters was basically the same as the advanced division as far as what tees they played. And I kind of liked it. I was still in pretty good shape. So I was like, okay, I get to play around from the blues and around from the whites. This adds a new challenge to it. So I was looking forward to it. And then when I joined MA40, almost 7 years ago. We played everything from the whites. So in my years, there's been a lot of learning curve. And just recently, I've started to dip my feet into the Pro Masters division too. And that's definitely a different animal, but I definitely enjoy the challenge of, again, being able to play that one round from the blues and then one round from the whites.
Yeah. So, do you think this is kind of an ongoing discussion that me and a couple others have been having? Do you think the layout from the whites make more sense or layout from blues? Because personally, like at Bond, I think that, or Royalton, the layout from the blues have a more defined line as to what you need to throw, where the whites is just kind of like, just make it up and hope it works.
I think that when you talk specifically about Royalton and Bond, I think it's a lot of placement. Personally, I think there's a lot of risk reward. I know if I'm playing Bond from the blues and I'm trying to play what's my game. I'm not throwing a lot of distance drivers. I mean, there's a lot of tight lines that I don't trust, and if I'm going to play within my game and myself, I'm throwing a lot of mids, maybe some fairway drivers, maybe some putters. I want to get from point A to point B to be able to get up and down and make my pars. With those two courses and the way that they've been built, when you look at them in comparison to, the OG courses, the JDs, the Wilsons, the Beaver Island, those courses, you go and play those from the blues, and they're not intimidating anymore. Where when you play Beaver from the blues, for me anyway, it was long. Those 400 or 500 foot shots were, you had one or two of those, and for somebody who for the longest time couldn't throw 300, I was nervous about him. We're now playing Royalton and Bond and understanding how to break the holes down, and then going back and playing some of those other holes. It's actually kind of relieving. I enjoy playing the blues and some of those old courses now.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. I went and tried playing the blues at Royalton to kick my butt because I'm not I'm not that good at Royalton. Hitting gaps is kind of hard.
Sure, yeah. Royalton definitely. You got to be a good woods player.
Yeah, and being in the woods doesn't allow for the flex forehand, which is my go-to throw.
Yep. Maybe it's time to learn a thumber or something like that. Be able to do some different things in the woods,
or just get my backhand to be an actual backhand.
Yep.
So what do you feel like is the major difference between like an amateur division and like switching to the pros, other than the blue layouts? Like, is it more competitive, do you feel, or does everything just kind of still feel the same, just the layouts are a little bit different?
I really think, well, there's certainly some better competition in the MP40 compared to the MA40. Last year there was a really good group of guys that we all played in the MA40, and a lot of them have started to move up, myself included. And some of the guys that have been playing MP40 already, they've given us a lesson or two, that's for sure. But I mean, the big thing that I notice is consistency. They're throwing 250 plus down the middle, able to shape it right, left, whatever it calls for. And just when they make a mistake, they're able to get up and down. They seem to always have that opening. Where with the AMs, I really think disc selection is the biggest thing. Being honest and playing within yourself. What's the true shot that I'm supposed to throw here, rather than let me take this high speed driver and poke and pray. Where a lot of people don't realize, when you disc down and you throw that fairway driver instead of the distance driver, your accuracy is better. Your misses they end up better because you don't have so much speed going out there. So you hit off of a tree, you're not going as deep or anything like that.
Yeah. Um, all right, cool. The couple comments is preach. So someone definitely agrees. We got another comment that says AMS is don't blow up, no, not bogey. Pros is must score play.
Yeah, I mean, when I started playing MP40, and I think it still holds true now. If you're to shoot par for the tournament, you're in the mix. I'm not going to say you're going to win every time, or for that matter, that you're going to, that you're not going to cash. But typically, if you're shooting par, you're in the mix with any of the age protected divisions. You start getting under par, and that's where the real chase is on. So that's definitely pretty accurate. Not taking those big numbers when you're playing AM is definitely important. Sometimes you get put in those bad positions. It's better to just take your medicine than it is to try and do something that you're not familiar with.
Yeah. And another good question that I've been thinking about lately is putting. So as like I've noticed from MA3 to MA2, guys are making these 30 footers. Like where
Yep.
I'm like, oh, that's a little bit too far. So in the pro division, are these guys draining like circle two putts, like step putts, or are they still kind of missing it but putting a little bit off, or is putting like dead on?
So, I mean, I think everybody has their good and bad days when it comes to putting. I've seen some guys who they could have shot 10, 12 down and still have ended up shooting 6 under, or some number that's still good in my eyes. I mean, what I think is good compared to everybody else is, it's strictly subjective. But a lot of these guys, I would say, if you're 25 and in, you can assume that they're making the putts. If somebody's hot, they hit one from 40. But the other thing is, I think there's some different philosophies when it comes to playing Masters Division golf compared to Open or MA1 and MA2, and it's more of understanding where you're going to score and how to stay safe, and taking those easy pars. And when you get those advantages and opportunities to catch a stroke, you got to capitalize on them. And I think that's where the consistency comes in, is being able to capitalize on 3, 4, 5 of those 25 to 30 footers in a round, and getting hot where you see a lot of AMs that they'll crumble under those conditions a lot of times.
Yeah. So when you practice putting, do you practice more outdoors to kind of get the idea of like how to putt in wind? When it comes to a tournament, you'll do that better, or do you find it better to putt indoors where you can get more repetition in and less variables to mess up your putt?
Um, I'm going to say it's seasonal to start off with, because I will definitely say in January, I'm in my garage putting. I'm not outside. But at the same time, one of the things that I really like to do with my practice is I have 2 baskets at my house. I'm fortunate enough that I have enough room that I can set them up a couple 100 feet apart. And, I'll put a basket out there 150 feet apart from each other, and I'll throw up shots. And I'll go walk up to those up shots, and now I'll go throw those putts to kind of give me that, roundabout distance of, this is about where I'm putting from. So come tournament time, I'm comfortable with those distances. And I learned from a guy who told me, if you can play from 200 and in, um, you score when you can play that position. So I continue to work on it all the time. Doesn't matter. I'll go out there with a stack of putters, maybe a couple of approach discs, mids, whatever, backhands, forehands. Sometimes I'll even throw a couple of rollers. Not that I'm good at them, but you never know when you're going to need it. And then it gives me the opportunity then to work on a staggered putt. a square putt, or a straddle putt, so I get to mix it up instead of the same old, because when you get caught in that same old, and then you have to do something different, I think a lot of people panic in that position. So being able to putt from a staggered stance, being able to putt from a straddle stance they're equally as important.
Yeah. So, speaking of training, for like anybody that's looking to get better, what do you suggest would be like something that they could do to improve their game? Is it field work, weightlifting, stretching? Like, what do you value as like the most important thing that they
Uh,
could do?
well, I think the first thing that they should do, if they're serious about getting better, get in touch with one of your local pros. Um, Somebody who has knowledge of teaching. I am a phys ed teacher with a master's degree. So as they say, those that can't do coach. I'd like to think that I'm good enough. I got enough experience in the sport that I could break somebody's form down and give them some critiques, some pointers to put them in the right path. There's also, like I said, there's a number of pros around in the Buffalo area that also hold lessons and things like that. So I would reach out to one of them. I think form is more important than anything else. If you have the right form and your timing and everything is good, the rest of it kind of leads itself. And then that becomes your base and what you can build off of.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of form, that's like one of the major things that another thing that I've noticed since I jumped up to MA2 is a lot of people have like this effortless form, and these just fly, and it's like holy mackerel. It's very impressive, and it's just like I just don't understand where all that power comes from.
It's Danny Lindell, the guy from Dynamic Discs, who he used to do a number of series on YouTube. He used to say, slow is smooth, smooth is far. And if your form is on and where it's supposed to be, it does look effortless.
Yeah. It's crazy how far some of these guys are throwing. It's like blows my mind.
Sure.
Like there was a guy, Justin. I just played with him yesterday at the Shoreland Shootout. Dude was just backhanding effortlessly, like 450, like it was nothing. I'm like, how? I don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, your body type, I think, has a lot to do with that also. Guys that have long arms that are able to use that leverage are definitely at an advantage compared to, somebody who's short that doesn't have very long arms, and, it is relying more on that core strength than they are the actual leverage.
Yeah, I must be broken then. I got the long arms, but I barely break 300 on my backhand.
Yeah, we'll give it another month. We'll get you fixed up.
All right. So what is your favorite disc right now that you're leaning on to the most these days in your bag?
So I think the one disc that I'm probably leaning on the most, I think, is the Matt Hammerstein, the new Tour Series M4. It's pretty stable. It's really point and shoot. It kind of reminds me of like what people would say about a buzz. Any angle that you put it on, it's going to hold it and fly. So it's been really reliable for me. And, changing some of the discs that are in my bag to limit what's actually in there, I reach for it quite a bit. From the time that I learned to throw kind of straight, if I could throw a mid range that I can just point and shoot and get down the fairway and be in a good position to make a par, that's my disc.
That sounds like a really good plan, honestly. So what are your goals in disc golf? Like, do you have a rating goal? Do you have a goal to teach disc golf, like in your school, bring up the younger kids into the sport? Like, what are your goals?
So I do some clinics a little bit, at my school because I'm a PE teacher. One of the things that I get lucky with is the fact that we have access to a park that's across the street from our school. So this time of the year, I usually have discs in the kids' hands, working on backhands and whatever for their warm up to get them exposed before I let them go run over to the playground or, have them that last couple minutes of free time, something like that. But I mean, ratings are subjective. You know, if you execute and you play to the best of your ability, I think everything else falls in place, as far as goals, expectations. I think at this point for me, it's more like bucket list stuff. I got to be honest. I'm kind of looking forward because it's not that far away to turning 50, so I can go play in the Empire State Senior Games. And I think my other bucket list would be to qualify for World Masters Worlds. Those would probably be the two like bucket list to do things for me. Other than that, continue playing the game and enjoying it.
So how do you qualify for the Master Worlds?
I think it's just like Worlds for Ams or Pros. You have to achieve a certain amount of points or whatever. I'll be honest, I've never really looked into it far enough yet because our divisions typically don't have a lot of guys, so earning those points are really tough. So I look at it as one of those things that if it happens, great. If it doesn't, I'm not going to go seek out this tournament or that tournament so that I can get enough points to qualify. Like I said, if it happens, great. If it doesn't, it's not going to ruin anything for me.
Well, I hope that the MP40 division grows. Like I know a couple guys from MA2 that are talking the next couple of years once they hit that age, they're jumping up to that.
Well, that sounds good. We'd be more than happy to have them come up and play with us.
Yeah, that'd be awesome to see that division really grow.
Yeah, I mean, MA40 last year or the last couple of years, it started to grow. So hopefully, MA40 is going to continue to grow as well as MP40.
Yeah, that'll be cool. So last question, what do you think needs to happen for the disc golf scene to really see a huge growth like they seen when COVID was happening?
That's a good question. I'll be honest. I think at this point, because disc golf has gotten so big, and if you just look at the Buffalo area, I think every weekend there's something going on. You can play almost every weekend where, prior to COVID, or even as far as that goes, you want to go even back farther, 20 years ago, you traveled, if you were serious about playing tournaments, one weekend might be in Buffalo, the next weekend you might be traveling to Pittsburgh, Syracuse, Binghamton, Rochester, back and forth 2 or 3 weeks in a row, or whatever the case, because there wasn't things happening all the time. Where I think there's league 3 or 4 nights a week now, a tournament every weekend, sometimes 2 or 3 of them. So being able to grow the sport now, I think it's got to go to the schools. It's got to start being introduced maybe as a club sport where everybody's included. As far as that goes, because disc golf is such a wonderful sport as far as ability level and everything else, I mean, you can take this to anywhere, the Special Olympics, anything where it can get exposure. I think that's really where it's going to have to go next. Getting it into the schools and adopting it is the next growth, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's all I got. Do you got any questions for me?
No, well, what are you playing next? That's probably the next question for you.
The next is going to be AMS Championship at Bond and Royalton. So,
okay.
Yeah, so next weekend I gotta get out to Royalton to try and get a practice round in from Whites and figure something out.
There you go. Yep. I don't bring it. I shot there this morning.
From Whites or from Blues?
From Whites. I know this is the only AM tournament I anticipate playing this year.
Oh yeah, You're
So,
doing it too.
yep,
Yes, that's right.
yep. I just signed up. So, A tier, it's going to be a big one. This is for the first time. I know there's 17 people signed up. So this should be a lot of fun, especially since we're playing Wilson the first day and then coming over to Royalton. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And,
you
we're going to
guys
have some good cards.
Yeah, you guys are playing Wilson because my MA2 is playing Bond.
Yeah, we play Wilson on Saturday and then we play Royalton on Sunday.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm playing Bond over Wilson. I struggle there. I don't know why I struggle at Wilson, but Bond, I'm fine.
We'll have to go work on your forehand over there. That's all.
Yeah. Got anything you want to shout out before ending?
I'll shout out real quick a couple of sponsors. And before I shout out those sponsors, I want to give a quick shout out to the Recycling Buffalo team. I recently joined them this year, and I can't express how amazing it is when you're on the course and you run into one of these teammates and somebody's giving you a fist bump and pumping you up. It's probably it's an experience I can't put into words because it's something that's new and it's something that's been totally different but amazing at the same time. So shout out to the Recycling Buffalo team, keeping the vibes 100. Shout out to Disc Golf Robot. If anybody sees me out on the course, you see the custom jerseys that I wear every time. They're done by Disc Golf Robot. Hit them up. And last but not least, Prodigy Discs. Find your flight. That's all I got for you tonight, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming on. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, thank you for tuning in, everybody. Make sure you tune in next week, and I will see you guys next week. See ya.